Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon, who do you think faced the most criticism today? The Baltimore Ravens, Bam Adebayo, or Mark DeRosa?
Oh, what happened? Wait, what happened with Mark DeRosa?
So you didn't see why they lost the night before?
I didn't actually end up watching the game. No.
Well, I didn't either, but Team USA lost to Team Italy 8-6.
Yeah.
And Mark DeRosa was under the assumption that they've already punched their ticket past the pool stages or whatever it's called. I'm not sure what the actual terminology is, but he said in an interview with MLB Network that he was going to get some guys off their feet. He was going to have Paul Goldschmidt play in place of Bryce Harper. He was going to make some other changes. And some people believe that he went into that game not knowing that they needed to win in order to advance. So he clarifies that in the postgame, said he misspoke, but he brings in Mason Miller in the ninth inning so the run differential doesn't completely knock them out or something like that. I got to believe that someone on his coaching staff would have known that, or one of his players, but people are coming down Mark DeRosa's road where they're wondering if he's ever going to coach for the WBC again.
Wow. That's Matt. So Derek, I got to be honest with you. After we got off air last night, I stayed up for about 8 more hours and just watched reruns of NFL Network.
Whoa, damn. Okay.
Intermittently, I went to sleep for an hour. I'd wake up for an hour and a half, watch some NFL Network, kind of go back to bed, wake up again. And I kept doing that. I was, for about 8 hours.
Jeez, did you get any sleep last night?
Yeah, no. I did get sleep. It was just interrupted by my reruns of NFL Network, like I'm saying. But I didn't go to ESPN. I didn't check out Fox Sports. I was just all about NFL Network. So I didn't know about the Mark DeRosa stuff. That's really fascinating. And if that's true, then yeah, I don't think he will coach again.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I gotta believe that somebody on his coaching staff came in there and said, "Hey, Mark, you don't know about the rules and everything, and you don't know that we got to win tonight. So no harm, no foul. Team USA is advancing because Team Italy won tonight, and so Team USA advances. And I think that Mark DeRosa will have his shit together going forward."
Yeah, well, it's just hard to believe that no one on that staff would have known that. Someone, like you said, Derek, someone would have had to know. But to answer your question, I would say the Baltimore Ravens now are starting to get more blowback.
Oh, yeah, they are, dude. Like, it happened last night. Like, we played the clip of Tom Pelissero, and that was passed around. A lot of people were coming down the Baltimore Ravens road today. Hands down, it's the Baltimore Ravens. And what's up with everybody in the chat tonight? What's up, Bernie? What's up, Otis Bird? And someone tell Rocco New Era, like, this is the night where he should jump on because we're going to talk everything. We're going to talk a little Warriors. We're going to talk a little WBC. And I want to hear from you guys, too. We're going to acknowledge the chat, just more so at the end of the show. But, we got to talk a little football, too. But Ernie won. Tell Rocco New Era to jump on. And he's probably not doing anything, so come on. Yeah, dude. Well, I'm concerned about your sleep, Alon. Like, I got great. Like, I haven't sleeping great the last few nights.
Yeah.
But I slept great last night. And I switched over to putting a blindfold on, or not a blindfold, but like an eye mask or whatever we want to put. Like, I'm not using the right terminology here, but use that to cover my eyes.
A sleep mask.
Great. Sleep mask. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Slept great. So yeah, man. Hey, you need to, I guess, turn off the TV between your sleepage.
Yeah, no, I mean, I usually do, and then I get up, and I don't know what it was, dude. I was just so fired up. I was so passionate.
You're so angry about the Max Crosby trade falling through.
Yeah, I was just. It's like your anger that you vented out into the world last night. Like, I like Green Miled it, and then because I was like, oh, this is this is bad, but Derek really cares about this league, and I understand where he's coming from, and then we get off air, and then I'm like, man, I'm pissed. This is stupid. Who does this? What the hell is this? And then it really came to fruition when Trey Hendrickson got signed.
Yeah. So you're saying that I'm Tom Hanks with an inability to pee, and you're Michael Clark Duncan taking all my sickness away.
Yeah, taking the
You're breathing in my hate.
Sickness, which is your hate. Yeah.
Yeah, in this situation. I did listen back to our podcast from last night. I was a little angry. It was new. It was all new to me, and I couldn't find the right words for it. And I still am not thrilled with what Eric DeCosta did, and we'll get to it. But it is what it is at this point. Max Crosby will not be going to the Baltimore Ravens, and I guess that's good news for the Raiders in a way. But we'll see if they make another trade here. I don't think right now they will. Couldn't come down the line, but we'll talk about it. As the new league year officially happened today at 1:00 on the West Coast. So all the deals that were agreed to the last few days, or going back to last week with some of the trades, were official, except for the Max Crosby trade, obviously. And some moves that we were anticipating, Kyler Murray getting released, Kirk Cousins getting released. I think Tua was before the new league year, and he's expected to sign with the Atlanta Falcons, but that's not official yet. We'll talk about some of those potential moves, where Kyler could go. I think we already know where he's going to go, and where Kirk Cousins can go. And that's going to be very interesting going forward here. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I do kind of like the potential there. But let's start with what happened this morning. And as I predicted last night, and most people did, the Baltimore Ravens ended up signing Trey Hendrickson to a 4-year deal, $112 million. So he gets 28, and something that people won't talk about because he's the pivot move from Max Crosby to, he's the pivot move from Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. He signed for less than what the Bengals were offering. They're offering him $30 a year, and he wanted more than that. So whatever, like, he gets his money and he gets stability. I haven't seen. I guess he gets some guaranteed money, but I wonder if the guaranteed money comes after. So he gets $60 million guaranteed and 20 signing. The big deal to him was with the Bengals, were they going to guarantee after that second year? So I wonder if the Baltimore Ravens are giving him that. And also, let's be real. Trey Hendrickson was hurt most of last year, but yet the Baltimore Ravens feel more comfortable in him than Max Crosby. And he's an older player. I think he's 31 compared to Max Crosby, who's 29. So not that huge of a difference, but look, when I saw that this morning, I was like, that's bullshit. That's lame. And look, I'm not going to scream or get angry like I did last night. It is what it is. I'll say all this. Yes, what they did was lame, and I don't like it, but it is what it is. The Baltimore Ravens have the right to do this because, unfortunately, this is the way the game is played. Like, GMs have to do what's in their best interest to make their teams better. And Eric DeCosta and the Baltimore Ravens, I'm sure Steve Bisciotti felt the same way. They didn't feel comfortable going forward with Max Crosby, even though most teams, I think all teams that when inquired about Max Crosby's services, knew about his meniscus, and they knew he wasn't going to be healthy until June or July. So they can't call ignorance on that. They can't call John Spytek on lying to them. It's just that they saw Max, saw the knee, and we're like, you know what? We're getting cold feet here. We're getting buyer's remorse, and we could pivot to Trey Hendrickson. It's not going to cost us anything. And, we lost Tyler Linderbaum, so we need to, kind of recalibrate what we do when it comes to the draft. My opinion is, if you agree to the trade, you should go through with it. If you're going to make a trade of that magnitude, and if you're worried about the knee in the first place, then you probably shouldn't agree to 2 first-round picks over the phone. But in the end, yes, they're allowed to do this. I know some Raider fans are saying they should be investigated. I don't think it's going to happen. They should be punished for this or taking draft picks away. That shouldn't happen either. This is part of the game. This is part of the legal tampering period. It's not even a legal tampering period. This is part of trades being agreed to, before they're actually official. Like, can you imagine? Like, you can make trades anytime, honestly. They won't be official for quite some time. But after your season's over, you can make trades. Remember when Matthew Stafford was traded to the Rams? That happened in between the conference championship and the Super Bowl. So it was the weekend of the Pro Bowl, whatever. I mean, no one cared about that. But that Saturday night, Matthew Stafford was traded to the to the Rams for Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks. Now, we all knew that couldn't be done for another 2 months. And I was thinking the whole time, like, God, if anything ever happens here, that's crazy. But that was on the table. When something's not official, you can change your mind. It's just different where you're agreeing to a trade. Like, today in the Bay Area, we compared to Carlos Correa. That's different. That's just a free agent signing a contract. You're not screwing over another team. So, look, the Baltimore Ravens were able to do this. It screws over the Raiders. I'm not happy about it, but the Ravens are able to do this. And I don't think anything's going to happen where they change the legal tampering period, anything like that. Everything's going to remain the same. The NFL won't get involved. Ratings were through the roof. Twitter engagements, unbelievable with all the insiders sending out news. So even though I find this frustrating, nothing's going to change.
No, we laid it out last night, Derek. I mean, because we opened the show with it for about an hour, but I've seen some of those. I mean, my brother texted me and said, "Oh, someone's got to be investigated." I said, for what? For using the flexibility of the structure that's in place. I mean, this is the structure that's in place. It's a, like you said, it's a deal in principle. It has, it's a deal in principle. It has to go through once the league year starts. You can back out of it for any reason if you'd like to do that. Regarding Max Crosby's MRIs, I know there was a story going around about, the doctor with the Cowboys who was also involved in seeing the MRIs as well. Everyone knew how his medical looked. The Ravens definitely did. You know what the Ravens weren't anticipating? And this is why they jumped into the Max Crosby sweepstakes so early and tried to get that done. They didn't think they were going to have a mass exodus on their team. I do not think they thought that was going to happen. I don't think they thought I don't think they thought Harbaugh was going to raid the cupboard. That's what I don't think they thought was going to happen. And when that happened, that probably reshuffled the entire deck for them. And they went, we need these picks because we have some spots that we need to fill as a team. Not just in terms of Tyler Linderbaum, who's a big one, but you got guys like Isaiah Likely, Alohi Gilman. I mean, Ardarius Washington. There's good Patrick Ricard, who's been on that team forever, is now a Giant. I mean, you got guys who have been there for a bit who are not there. Their free agency has been a disaster. Let's just put it that way. And I know they got Trey Hendrickson. I know they were able to have John Simpson sign a good contract, but it's been an utter and absolute disaster. And I think that's why they went back on this Max Crosby trade. I think they saw, shoot, we just lost 10 guys, and you're never going to keep everybody. You're never going to re-sign everyone because players move around, right? But and you might not necessarily want to keep everybody, but they lost a lot. They lost a lot of people, and they went, we need these picks. These are valuable. And I don't know if they're as close to competing now with all these losses as maybe they thought they were on Friday. That's the real thing. I think they're still very good, Derek. Of course I do, because I believe in Lamar Jackson. I think Derrick Henry still got tread on the tires. I think they can get things done. I think Trey Hendrickson's a good addition, but they realized, hey, 2 first-round picks, we can go sign Trey Hendrickson for cheaper. We get more value out of Trey Hendrickson with the $30 million that we're going to give to him than we do getting rid of 2 first-round picks in consecutive years. That's just the way it breaks down. So I think that was the calculus. Yeah. And people might say that's shady, which I think it is. But like you said, they have the right to do it. I mentioned that last night as well. And, I mentioned this as well last night. They suffer the opportunity or the audience cost, the reputational cost. There's going to be a lot of people who do not want to do business with them in high leverage trades anymore for the next couple years. I mean, just not pre-deadline is what or not pre-league year. Maybe after the league year starts, but I don't think people are going to be so enthused about getting into business with the Ravens right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that people don't like what they did, and that was pretty clear last night with all of the reporting where Tom Pelissero went scorched earth on them. We played it on the show, referring it to what the Ravens did as pulling the rug underneath the Raiders and treating it like an Amazon Prime return. There's a lot out there where people believe, most people that work in the league believe the Ravens did something bad last night, that they had buyer's remorse, that you shouldn't agree to a trade like that if you're not comfortable with the knee. So that's the part that sucks. Where there were so many teams willing to trade for Max Crosby, but no one was willing to trade 2 first-round picks. The only team was willing to do that were the Baltimore Ravens. And I wonder how other teams would feel about his knee at the moment, because since this happened last night, more teams have acquired. Obviously, no one's offering 2 first-round picks at the moment, and they never were, besides Baltimore. But still, people are comfortable enough to have Max Crosby on their team. So I wonder, will the Raiders cave? Will they come down from their asking price of 2 first-round picks? If they're going to do it, they have to do it before the draft. But to your point about the Baltimore Ravens and their chances to compete this year, they still have Lamar Jackson. They still have some pieces on offense. Getting Trey Hendrickson helps them. I don't think it's as good as getting Max Crosby, but it's still a pretty damn good move. So they improve their pass rush. It's not the best pass rusher they've had, best pass rusher they've had since Terrell Suggs. I think you could put Trey Hendrickson in that same category as Darius Smith or anybody else they've had in these last few years, Kyle Van Noy. But it's not the same move. Max Crosby, I think, is that much better than Trey Hendrickson. He's better at playing the run. He just sets the edge a lot better. So I don't know. I think the Ravens will still compete in the AFC, and they have to, with the Chiefs making moves and the Buffalo Bills making moves, signing Bradley Chubb today to a 3-year deal. We'll get to that a little bit later. But I just want to play what Eric DeCosta said today. He was doing a press conference, and obviously there's going to be a lot of backlash for what happened. So he addressed what a lot of people were thinking. Did the Baltimore Ravens, as I share my screen here, did the Baltimore Ravens have buyer remorse when it came to trading for Max Crosby, agreeing to a trade the other night for 2 first-round picks?
What do you kind of say to that speculation?
I mean, I understand it. I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism, and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. As I said at the beginning, we've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea. Is this the best thing for the Ravens? It's very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might maybe from afar would feel that way, but nobody is more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team. And I think there's many, many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
I doubt he's gutted by it, because in the end, if you were that, disappointed in the whole thing, you probably would have gone through with the trade. It had to be something monumental for them to back out of this, and I don't think there was. I think just they got spooked by the fact that he had the knee injury. It might have been worse than they anticipated, but they knew it was there. Now, the part that bothers me is Mike Garafolo and Jane Slater both have this report out there that when Max Crosby came into the facility yesterday, they ran the medicals, they saw his knee, not great, but they knew they were going to fail him anyway. But now they're thinking, is he really worth 2 first-round picks? We're the only team offering that. So they went to the Raiders and said, can you lower your asking price of 2 first-round picks? And they were still willing to do the trade. And the Raiders said, no. That's why we agreed to the trade with you, and that's why it fell through. So at the last second there, they were trying to manipulate them. He's in the facility. He's here right now. We don't love everything with the knee. We got Trey Hendrickson on the phone. Can you guys come down from your price of 2 first-round picks? And John Spytek stood his ground. And I commend him for that, because you shouldn't be able to do that in that situation. There's also reports out there that Max Crosby, while he was in the facility yesterday with his family, the Ravens were prepared to give him a new contract to make him the highest paid defensive player in football. And there's this report out there now that the Ravens' intention all the while was to sign Trey Hendrickson to play with Max Crosby. I don't believe that for a second. I think that they're both great pass rushers, but financially, the Ravens have never been that aggressive. And if they were going to sign Max Crosby to a new deal, they wouldn't be able to afford both of them. That would just be insane and would not be able to work with their cap space. Now, Crosby's agent has come out and said that's a lie. That never was on the table. They were just going to have Crosby play under his current contract with the Ravens. So I don't know how to react anymore. I've exhausted all of my energy on this. It is what it is. He's not going to play for the Baltimore Ravens. They screwed the Raiders out of 2 first-round picks. And again, they have the right to do that because they didn't feel good about the medical. It's not so much about them being spooked by the physical, like anything with Carlos Correa where they had no knowledge of that, or Mark Williams a year ago getting traded from the Lakers to who was it? The Hornets? I think something like that. Oh, sorry, going from the Hornets to the Lakers.
Hornets to the Lakers for Dalton Connect.
Yeah, exactly. That's where things pop up where you're like, whoa, okay, we weren't anticipating that. The Baltimore Ravens knew they kind of saved their ass where we'll just offer 2 first-round picks, and if we don't like anything with his knee, we'll just move on to something else. They got lucky that Trey Hendrickson didn't sign right away. If that happened, maybe Max Crosby, they just go through with the trade. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm disappointed because I felt for Max Crosby, even though he put out that video and said he's disappointed he couldn't get a championship for the Raiders. We know he wanted to move on. We know he wanted to play for a contender, and I was unable to do that. But now he may have a good situation with the Raiders now. So it is what it is. This happens in sports. People screw each other over. They back out of deals, and we'll see what happens now with Max Crosby.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I think Danny Rossini reported that, guess where he was this morning?
Yep.
He was in Henderson in the facility, and his mindset is playing for the Raiders. So, look, I kind of thought that's the way it would go if he came back, because that's the kind of person he is, and I kind of laid that case out last night. That seems to be the case, at least for now. I would believe that the next highest likelihood is that if he is to be traded, it will be before the deadline once the season starts, and that's all contingent on how the team is doing and what kind of compensation they get back. I think the Ravens completely got cold feet because they went, we have holes on our roster that we need to fill, and it's just, you know what, the trade seemed good on Friday and we were trying to jump in front of everybody, and we did.
Yeah.
And then we saw that no one signed Trey. There was no fire regarding the signing, potential signing, or agreed to terms with Trey Hendrickson. And then they went, yeah, you know what? This is a better move for us organizationally. That's all
exactly what happened. Yeah, it is.
That's exactly what happens. That's what the timeline looks like. That's how it makes sense. Is it a little skeezy? Yeah, of course it is. Does it cost them a bit of reputation? Of course it does. But at the end of the day, Raiders got better today. They were going to get better. They were going to get better either way, either better in the long term or they were going to get better in the short term. They got better in the short term today because of this, and last night, actually, because they have Max Crosby back. And now that you have him back, you have to assume, if you're an organization, that he is going to play for you, because you are not going to get the trade compensation that you were so firm on before. And if you set the precedent that you are willing to let great players go for cheap, then you are screwed. You lose all your – this is very much in terms of leverage and bargaining. You lose all your leverage going forward if you're a GM like John Spytek or the Raiders as an organization as a whole. Regarding failed physicals, I was trying to think of different examples as well last night. So I was doing some Twitter and Reddit research, and I thought about the Drew Brees one. When Drew Brees but still not like the Max Crosby deal, but he passed his physical with the Saints, right, and failed it with the Dolphins. Could you imagine how different history might be if Nick Saban gets Drew Brees in Miami?
Yeah,
and we don't need to get too far into that, because thank God that didn't happen, and he was able to come to Alabama. Nick Saban, that is. But
you homer, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm such a homer on that. Another thing, real quick. Tacky says, remember on Monday when Derek said I was a hater for saying the Raiders will Raider this up? They did not Raider this up, Tacky, and I see your explanation. There's just cosmic forces that won't allow the Raiders to have nice things. They got a really nice thing. They got their player back. They got their fan favorite, bigger than the franchise player back.
Yeah,
so
but I know what he's saying a lot.
No, but
yeah.
You don't get worse by getting Max Crosby back. I'm just saying that.
No, I know that, but also they were looking to get 2 first-round picks and build around this team, and I know that. And Tacky's saying they're hurt player. I know, but he's still Max Crosby, Tacky. Like, don't lie. You'd still take him on the 49ers right now. Or then again, like, I don't know, with the whole substation thing, but don't act like you wouldn't want Max Crosby on your football team. That's ridiculous. Yes, I know that some people today, not a lot of people were going down the Baltimore Ravens road, but some people were like, this is typical Raiders bullshit, and it is, but that's a lame take to have today. Like, it's nothing to do with them. It's just the fact that they got unlucky with this, where their best player on their football team that is worth 2 first-round picks. Yes, Tacky, he is worth 2 first-round picks. I don't care that he has a knee injury at the moment. When he's healthy, you possibly trade him again. I don't know what's going to happen with that situation, but yes, he is worth 2 first-round picks. Tacky, I didn't want Crosby for 2 firsts when we thought he was okay. No, I mean, yeah, the Niners shouldn't do that in the first place. No. We'll talk about a trade that they made today, but he is worth 2 first-round picks. I understand that he's not healthy right now, but I don't give a damn. What he brings to your football team, he's a top 5 pass rusher in this league. He's worth 2 first-round picks. So him coming back to the team, yes, everyone's saying that right now. I want to hear from him, though. I think that Max Crosby is the type of person, he tweeted it out either last night or early yesterday, that this was the anniversary, I guess 11 years of his sobriety or whatever it is, or 6 years it might have been actually. Don't know the timeline there, but today was the anniversary of his sobriety, and he had the caption of it being, God doesn't make mistakes. And Max Crosby's that type of guy where things happen for a reason, divine intervention here of why was I sent back? Why did I not go to this team? Why did I not make a big stink about this in the first place? Why did the Raiders honor what I wanted? It all comes back to maybe Max Crosby realizing this place is home. They got my defensive line coach to be defensive coordinator now. They got an improved team. We got Nakobe Dean. We got Quay Walker. We got Kwity Paye. This defensive line is better than what he's working with the Baltimore Ravens to a certain degree. Now they have the defensive tackle whose name escaped me at the moment. I can't pronounce his name, but there's not a lot as far as pass rush on the Ravens defense, and it wasn't great a year ago. On paper, the Raiders defense has more rotational guys for a pass rush here. Like Max Crosby's playing opposite Kwity Paye or Trey Wilson or Malcolm Kuntz now. That's not bad compared to, and I know that he's had those guys the last few years, but getting Kwity Paye, getting those linebackers could be an improvement. Like, who was Max Crosby playing off of in Baltimore? Was it Mike Green, their draft pick from a year ago?
Matabuke, the one that you mentioned.
Matabuke is their defensive lineman, yeah. So
that's who that was going to be their 1-2 punch. That was going to be their Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you know what? Jesse Minter's a great defensive coordinator, and now he's going to be the head coach. So he probably would have worked magic with Max Crosby. But the defense is improved right now. Am I going to say that it's vastly improved? No. Like, there's still question marks with the Raiders, and just because you sign a bunch of guys, we don't know if it's going to translate. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. And by the way, it was announced. Nothing's official yet, but the Raiders are going to introduce their players tomorrow in a press conference. And I'm sure John Spytek will be hounded with questions about Max Crosby. I don't even know if Max Crosby will be in attendance. Probably not. But the idea right now is they're moving forward with him. But I'll ask you this, Alon. If Max Crosby lets it be known that he does not, like, he's saying all the right things, but he told everybody behind closed doors, look, guys, I understand. You traded me to the Baltimore Ravens, and they didn't like my medical. It is what it is. I still want to go. And Chicago's offering draft capital for me. And I wonder if the Raiders will just want to get something in return, where they have Max Crosby on the roster, but do they value draft picks more? And again, I know that's a crazy statement, but is Chicago offering a first and a second? Is that terrible? I know, like, you had 2 first-round picks, and now this is not as good. But if it makes Crosby happy and you're getting pretty good value in return, probably not the appropriate value, do the Raiders reconsider before the draft starts?
I'll think they'll listen, but I don't think they will move off their position. Just as trading him initially to the Ravens was a business decision for both parties involved, this would be a business decision in the opposite direction. It would say, sorry, Max, we're not letting you go for that. We think you're worth more. And if they're able to get that kind of compensation, like I said, before the deadline during the regular season, then maybe. But that is going to be contingent on desperation of other teams who think that they're very close to, getting a Super Bowl, things like that. And it'll be contingent on the Raiders team performance. As far as the press conference tomorrow, that will be very interesting. And it would be amazing if Max Crosby was there. I don't think he will be there.
I would doubt it.
But if he is, that would just be like the story of the week, right? It really would. We had a wacky day yesterday. I saw this weird tweet that talked about how March 10th will always be remembered. Max Crosby trade gets rescinded or, backed out of. Bam Adebayo becomes the second all-time, points man for a single game in NBA history, and the USA loses to Italy. Like, what the hell kind of sports day is that? All those.
I don't know if we're going to remember the other two things as much, and we'll get to that a little later.
But you mentioned, Derek, how everybody started to come down Baltimore's road. And what's interesting is when this first kind of got reported, it was very much like, well, what was happening? And, in the Bay Area specifically, and I say, hey, I still love the Bay Area. Don't get me wrong. That's where I grew up. But in the Bay Area specifically, it was very much a narrative. Oh, the Raiders did this, the Raiders did that, the Raiders, and then it took someone like a Tom Pelissero to be like, this is BS, maybe what happened. And then you started to see the bandwagon of the national media start to go, yeah, this was a purely business shrewd move by the Ravens to do what they did.
Yeah, forget Tom Pelissero. I started that yesterday on the radio. People coming down my road saying I'm just a Raider lover.
Yeah, I know.
So screw all of you.
But guess who's with you? All the national media and the people.
Damn right you are.
Yeah, exactly. Because Derek's a trendsetter. But I don't think anybody went down the Ravens road harder than former NFL Network insider Jason La Canfora. Did you see his tweet, Derek?
I retweeted it. But maybe I'm not talking about the specific one you're referring to.
Do you mind if I put it on screen?
By all means, sir. Is it the one where Jason La Canfora said just got off the phone with two GMs? Is that it?
No, it's not that one. It's
Go
this
ahead.
one. Let's see.
Alon's sharing it on the screen right now. But there was a lot of tweets last night that were in favor of the Raiders and them getting screwed out of it. Like Cameron Wolf last night tweeted out, one general manager told me everybody involved in the Max Crosby trade talks knew he would be out until June or July coming off meniscus surgery. Consensus opinion I've gotten from NFL decision makers, Ravens got cold feet, and it could impact how other teams work with Baltimore going forward. Now, I think that's a little much, but
if you thought that was a little much,
no. I think the sentiment that teams are going to not work with the Ravens anymore because of this, I don't know if that's going to happen. But for the next few weeks or the next couple days here, it'll go away. Every story goes away. The Ravens are going to be looked at as, just scummy for this situation.
Yeah, no, they will. So he I don't know if it's showing up or not, but anyway, I'll just read it. But
you had it here. Just add to the stage. Here we go.
There we go. The Baltimore Ravens ain't winning nothing with a fraud-ass front office. Team Prez is the worst GM in NFL history, and the GM is overmatched and should have been fired before the coach. Ozzie Newsome's GM family tree is filled with failures, and his replacement is one of them. What the hell is that? Look, I don't like what the Ravens did. I understand why they did it, but that's horrible.
Yeah, that's a little. I mean, like we had Jason La Canfora on the other day, and I don't think he's working in the Baltimore, Maryland, media scene anymore. He was covering Washington, the Redskins for a long time. That's just maybe his kind of animosity towards the Ravens or whatever it is. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
but
it was interesting.
He has had these. He's kind of all over the place on Twitter. He's very outspoken. I know some people don't like Eric DaCosta as a general manager. He's well respected as a GM, but as a person, not so much. Just kind of, not like saying he's a bad guy or anything, but like just not the most friendly dude, doesn't like the media. So that could be the case. Even though I like Jason Locafora, I take everything he says with a grain of salt. So I'm not going to go too much into that. The bottom line is the Ravens did this decision, and they're allowed to do it, but I didn't like that they did it. And now the Raiders have to figure out what they're going to do. And as far as making another trade, Adam Schefter said that there's multiple teams inquiring about Max Crosby. The Cowboys, you got to believe they moved on by trading for Rashawn Gary. There's still the Chicago Bears, who at one point in time was Max Crosby's preferred destination. And Caleb Williams has been pushing hard for them to get Max Crosby. I think today Louis Riddick tweeted out, yesterday's price is not today's price, and then Caleb Williams retweeted that. So if that's the case, then Caleb Williams is kind of like saying, well, we're not offering what we offered before. But, that's not going to get anything done. If the Chicago Bears right now are offering a first and a second, and that's the best deal on the table, I consider it for a little while. But I also think about this. The team is better with Max Crosby. Now, is it better to get draft capital for him to move in a different direction? Yes, but it's not the draft capital you were anticipating. And he is worth 2 first-round picks. And by the time that he's healthy in June or July, it'll be too late at that point to trade him. So the best course of action, we said it last night, is to keep Max Crosby on this team until the trade deadline. And if you can convince teams to give you 2 first-round picks, if the team is failing at that point, then that's when you make a deal. And I think other teams like Philadelphia or the Chicago Bears or anybody else that's in contention at that time will go all out to get Max Crosby. So his draft value, or his trade value, I should say, is not fantastic right now. It'll be that much better when he actually starts playing football with this team. And then at that point, maybe the Raiders are not a contending team, but a team that looks different than what they were a year ago. I'll just say that. They only had 3 wins. They look just inept for most of the season on offense and defense. But if they draft Fernando Mendoza and all these guys they picked up at free agency actually are playing well, and they can protect their quarterback with Tyler Lindenbaum, Jackson Powers-Johnson, and Colton Miller, then maybe you keep Max Crosby for longer than the trade deadline. We were talking about a few podcasts before where it was leading up to this point. The Raiders need to get out of the business of trading away their good players. We've seen it a million times. And for the most part, all of them left. Khalil Mack got traded away, and Devontae Adams got traded away. Antonio Brown signed with the Raiders, but then his feet got burned off and the whole thing, and he hated Mike Mayock. He called him a cracker, that whole situation. So, that kind of is similar in a situation. Like it's similar to this in a little way where we never saw Antonio Brown play for the Raiders. We're never going to see Max Crosby play for the Baltimore Ravens. But maybe this is the sign that Max Crosby needed, the Raiders organization needed, where we need each other. Like, you are the most respectable Raider that was disgruntled with the organization. And you got your chance to leave, and they told you no. And this is kind of the universe telling you maybe you shouldn't leave in the first place. Maybe you should stay here. You epitomize being a Raider. You should be our Myles Garrett, even though I don't 100% agree with what the Browns are doing with Myles Garrett. But maybe you should be that guy for us right now. So maybe a better deal will come up from now until training camp. But at that point, what good does that do the Raiders? So I would say their best course of action is to hang on to Max Crosby, go into the season with him, keep adding in the draft, and see where it goes. And I think that he'll probably be locked in. I think that this is all the sign that he needs, that maybe for this time right now, I need to continue on and see what goes on with this coach. My guy, Rob Leonard's the defensive coordinator. And then if things don't go well by the trade deadline, then you can move on from me. And this is something that we'll revisit every year with Max Crosby, unfortunately, if the Raiders don't improve. But I think for the here and now, it's best to just move forward with this new iteration, at least trying with Crosby.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen. This is probably the last coaching staff and GM combination, or coaching staff, because Spytek is already there, that is going to have a chance with Max Crosby. I think that is 100% true. And if they get it right, they get it right. And if they don't, he will eventually be gone. I have some divine intervention, theological reasoning that I think maybe goes into this. I'm not going to get into it on here, but I definitely do think that if Max was supposed to be in Baltimore, he'd be in Baltimore right now. And he's clearly not. So we'll see how all that changes and evolves. But yeah, his trade value right now for what the Raiders want, it's down. It's definitely down. And Caleb Williams retweeting like, well, yeah, the price, I don't know why he did that. Whatever, young player. I don't know.
He just wants Max Crosby on the team.
I know he wants him really bad, but like, don't retweet that. Just tweet like, hey, Max, like we're still here, rather than, hey, we're not going to give you a good deal, basically, because that's not going to incentivize the Raiders, and they don't care what a player tweets anyway regarding that kind of stuff. But his trade value will increase as the season starts, and it will definitely increase as teams become desperate for pass rush when they decide that they can go all in on the season. But as it's looking now, if I had to handicap it, guess where I'm back at 60-40. I think 60% he stays with the Raiders the entire season. 40% he gets traded at the deadline. I think those are the options, and that's just the way it's going to play out. And it's going to be a very interesting season. And like you said, we're going to be talking about this with Max Crosby for quite a while, but yeah, it's just been, it's been a crazy couple of days. That's for darn sure.
It definitely has. And one thing's for certain here. Tom Brady, when he's calling Baltimore Ravens games, will feel a certain way about that team.
Ooh, it's a good thing he's on Fox, right? And Baltimore's in the AFC, so CBS.
That's not a thing anymore, though.
No, it's not.
Yeah, because we grew up with CBS doing all the AFC games and Fox doing the NFC games, but yes, that still is the case.
Some crossover.
But there's more crossover than ever.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens tomorrow. They're going to have this press conference. They're going to introduce all the players that they signed, and we'll see if Max Crosby's there. And if he is there, then I think that's telling that they're moving in the right direction. He's committed to excellence with the Raiders. But if not, we'll see what happens here. I think if it gets past the draft, just hang on to Max. Like if it's clear that by June or July he's healthy, then just go into training camp with him and then go from there. If the team is not going in the right direction, then you trade him. But right now, you have this promising coach, you have this promising quarterback, you got his DC or the guy that he likes to be DC and Rob Leonard. Just try it out just try it out, Max. Mend your fences with Tom Brady and Alex Guerrero, and then you could probably be a pretty competitive team in the AFC West, where you got the quarterback, hopefully, you got the pass rush. You still need to defend against Mahomes and Justin Herbert and Bo Nix. And God, Sean Payton the other day I think texted Jay Glazer saying, I'm so fucking happy that Max Crosby's out of the AFC West. Well, you got nightmares again, man. So, yeah, I anticipate that Max Crosby will stay with the Raiders for the here and now.
This just came to mind real quick, Derek, before we move on. But you talked about Khalil Mack and Antonio Brown. Could be Amari Cooper. Could be guys like that. Guys who got great players who got traded away, right? Well, two of them, and then Antonio Brown thing doesn't work. Max Crosby would be going away for maybe a first-round pick and a third-round pick right now if the Raiders are still in Oakland. I just think that's a reality. They would not have this cap flexibility. They would not have this ability to incur his pay back.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm saying is if the Ravens would have pulled this on the Oakland Raiders, the Raiders would have said, yeah, okay, I mean, you got us. We'll take first and second then. Right. I just think it's much more likely that way. And it's the unfortunate reality of the way things were working for them financially in Oakland. But I think they were in that position. They're not in that position anymore. And I don't know if that had anything to do with the calculation of the Ravens, but they probably would have been able to pull that off had this been 7 years ago and Max Crosby was in the same situation now. So I just wanted to put that out there as well.
You're probably right. I mean, the Raiders were, even though they got 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack, they had to give up a second in the process, which I always thought was puzzling. But you're probably right, Alon. You're probably right that maybe if this was still the Oakland Raiders, they didn't have I don't know if they would stay here if the finances weren't the same. But they probably would be backed in a corner here. I don't feel like they need to. They're fine. They got Crosby on the roster. They're not coming down from their asking price. They're not going to be pressured to do anything they don't want to do. Max Crosby's not that type of guy to now go public and say, well, screw this team, I'm out of here. No. I think that he's going to play ball for them, and we'll go from there once we get to the trade deadline. As far as a trade that actually was completed, the 49ers made a trade today for Osa Odighizuwa from the Cowboys, a defensive tackle, and he was a name that I brought up when it came to Max Crosby. And funny enough, the Cowboys did offer him to the Raiders. They offered a first, a second, and Osa Odighizuwa, and the Raiders said no. Now, I wonder if that trade goes through, even with the Cowboys' knowledge of his knee, but which kind of in hindsight now seems like a good deal. But regardless, it's a numbers game with the Cowboys. They're going to a 3-4 defense. They need defensive tackles on the defensive line for them with their outside linebackers on the edge. And I think they picked up another defensive tackle yesterday in free agency. They already picked up Kenny Clark. They already picked up Quinton Williams. We know that Jerry Jones is trading away Micah Parsons is emphasizing more of a run-stopping defense. So they still need pass rush. That's why they were looking at Max Crosby. But Osa Odighizuwa is a young guy on their team that they signed a contract with a couple years ago. He's not really a pass rusher. I mean, but don't be fooled by the sack numbers. That's not indicative of how he is as a player. He can help you in the run game. He can help you as a pass rusher. He's going to help C.J. West and Alfred Collins in the middle there. Let's just be honest. They needed more interior presence. They needed more presence along that entire defensive line with only having 20 sacks a year ago. And they were in on John Franklin Myers, who is more versatile as a defensive tackle or a defensive end. Maybe can move Osa around. And think about that now. It's going to be a field day for my pops and Tim Ryan. Osa and Bosa, bro. Yeah, I like this move. I don't know if I brought this up with you, Alon, but I suggested Chris Jones. I didn't know what the deal was going to be with the Chiefs and their finances, but they're hanging on to him. He would have been too costly. Probably would have been a lower draft pick if you took on all the salary, but it's just a third-round pick for Osa. So, yeah, I think the Niners still need to make some other moves as far as like a true pass rusher, a veteran presence. Maybe they go out and get Joey Bosa. They finally pair up those two guys, those two brothers, I should say. But I think 49er fans should be happy with the move they made today, getting Osa Odighizuwa.
I think having Bosa, Osa, and Bosa would be really, really cool. And you would just love hearing those highlights on CanBR ad nauseum because you would hear them all day. And I can hear your dad in my head. I think that would be amazing. But as far as Osa goes, great pickup. Really good pickup. And yeah, don't let the sack numbers fool you. I know just 3.5 sacks, but he graded out as one of the better, to the 12th ranked defensive tackle in terms of pressure rate. So his pass rush grade, I should say. And he's also darn good in the run as well. So he can do multiple things for you. He's going to push the pocket, which is what you need out of your guy who's going to anchor things in the middle and then let the linebackers be able to flow and feast as well as whoever's on the outside for you. So it's a really good move. I know we talked about Franklin over in Denver, and Chris, you did mention Chris Jones to me, which I thought was really interesting. And I don't think that would be a bad move. The only reason I didn't know if it would happen is because I was always thinking, why would Chris Jones even leave? Just, hang it up with just be a Kansas City Chief, basically. Like, you've given everything to that organization. You've had success there. Just stay and just have a great career. Don't be one of those guys who goes somewhere else. Not that maybe it's a good financial move, but I really like it when a player stays with the team.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that one. But
Osa can push the pocket, Derek. That's all I'm trying to say is he can push the pocket and he will make life easier for everybody else on that defense.
Yeah, I think that I think it's a good move. I think that the Niners have a ton of 4th-round picks. I think they have 4 at the moment. So they can part with a 3rd-round pick. But yeah, you're getting a guy that doesn't get to the quarterback a ton, but for a defensive tackle, it's a mixed bag. I don't think Jalen Carter gets a ton of sacks. He doesn't. So if you're getting a interior pass rusher, a guy that can help you with the run and the pass, this is a good move. And yes, you need more pressures on this team. There was multiple games this year where they didn't finish with a sack or a pressure the entire game. I think that was in the Jacksonville Jaguars game. So, yeah, the 49ers need help on the defensive line. They may make more additions here, but this was a smart move. And it's rare they make moves with the Dallas Cowboys, but they did a couple years ago with Trey Lance in that trade. So I like the move a lot. This was a guy that, he's not a household name, but if you knew what was going on with the Cowboys and how they value him, but they had to make, they had to give more playing time to their veteran players that they acquired in Kenny Clark and Quentin Williams, it was time to move on from him. So, yeah, it's the Niners gain here with Osa Odighizuwa. And we got our resident Raider fan in the chat here, Mac Van. It's been a while. What's up, Mac Van? He gives his thoughts on the Baltimore Ravens backing out of the Max Crosby trade. Well, I don't think the Raiders screwed this up. Deal or no deal, it's whatever now. And earlier in the chat, he said, I don't have a problem with the Ravens backing out of the deal. Just not good luck to me. I agree. And he also adds here, Raiders signed a couple boar hunters. It's a good Bill Romanowski reference. Can't win free agency, but I feel good about it for now. I'm with you, Mac Van. The Raiders, look, Niner fans, I don't know what the deal is. I'm talking to you, Tacky, and you elitist 49er fans, that this whole mentality against the Raiders, they're out of sight, out of mind, man. They're not here anymore. So I don't know why you guys need to just come down the road all the time. This happened to me the other day on KNBR, where there's still this Raider hatred. Who gives a shit anymore? It's where, yes, the Raider fans always had a, inferiority complex when it came to attention in the Bay Area. I'll acknowledge that with the A's and the Giants and the Raiders and the 49ers. But don't act like the Raiders screwed this up. They did not. They did not screw anything up. They traded away one of the best players in all of football, and in the end, the Baltimore Ravens were like, we're not interested anymore. Now, is it weird happening to the Raiders because this type of shit does happen to the Raiders? Yes. It's just weird, but they didn't do anything wrong here.
No, of course not. And it's kind of, Mac, I don't know, I don't think you were in the show yesterday in the chat, but I kind of mentioned this yesterday where it's just another thing to add to the Raiders lore. That's really what it is. And it doesn't have anything to do with what they've done. That's just how the cookie crumbled. It just happens to be associated with the Raiders. So, just like, for instance, the tuck rule, even though that's an on the field thing, that has nothing to do with what the Raiders did. It's just something the Raiders are associated with. And it's something that, just from a bigger sports conversation in general, those are the kinds of things that are great for fan bases. They're horrible in the moment, but they're great for fan bases because it's something you can always latch onto for years and years and years, bring it up, and everybody can get all effing pissed about it, and you can have a good time talking about it. And it's really good for days in sports radio when there's nothing going on and you don't want to talk about should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame? You can instead talk about horrible things that have happened to different franchises. So, yeah, I'm with you there, Mac. Good to have you on board tonight.
Just real quick, ending the conversation with the Raiders. There's still some good free agents out there. I thought JYOM Jennings would have signed at this point, but I'm sure the market that he was anticipating is not out there. And I think some teams, probably most teams, view him as a wide receiver too. And he was hoping to get 20 to 25 million. So it's probably in the ballpark of anywhere from 15 to 20. JYOM Jennings, I mentioned this before, has familiarity with Clint Kubiak from his days with the 49ers. And the Raiders don't have a number one option. Romeo Doubs left. Do you still think do you still think the Raiders should make a move for JYOM Jennings? Because I think the door is closed on him returning to the 49ers at this point. They've moved on with the acquisition of Mike Evans. How much would you be willing to give JYOM Jennings at this point, Alon?
Well, the thing is the Dobbs deal. I mean, does that kind of
4 for $80, but he's not getting that.
No, he's not. That's what I'm saying. So he's not getting 20 million. If you can snipe him for 15, 2 years, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what his range is. I don't know what JYOM Jennings' range is going to be.
Well, he'd be the most reliable wide receiver you have on the team currently with Trey Tucker and Jalen Naylor. I would offer him 3 for 45. So that'd be 15 a year.
Yeah, so still 15. So I said 2 for 30, 3 for 15. Yeah. It's the same thing. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. 15 mil a year. If you can find that, if you can somehow come to an agreement and maybe you front load it with guaranteed money. The only issue with that is it does put you up against it with the cap, but the deal with the cap is, as long as you're under it, you're under it. Who cares? So, and the Raiders are still about 40 million ish under. I mean, the number seems to fluctuate between 35 and 50 million right now. But so we'll see. They have the money to do it if they want to do it. It's just a question of, can they get JYOM for the deal that is appropriate for both parties?
Yeah. And I think that there's a part of him that wants to play for a contender. I know when I talk to people about this on KMB or other, like, Jawaan Jennings isn't going to a bad team. It's like, well, he doesn't have a lot of options right now. Where, we saw Reek Woolen sign with the Philadelphia Eagles for a 1-year deal, and that's because his market wasn't fantastic. I wonder if Jawaan would have to sign a 1-year prove-it deal with somebody. And would that team be, I'm trying to think of somebody that's in need of a wide receiver, like the Chargers or the Broncos at this point? I think the Raiders would be willing to give him more money, but I think the Broncos and Chargers are looking for more at wide receiver. Those two teams can look at Deebo Samuel as well. He's still out there. And Tyreek Hill, but I'm not sure he's going to be signed until much later when he's 100% healthy, or just healthy a little bit. But there was something that happened today that we were anticipating, but I didn't expect him to be linked to the Raiders. So we knew that today was going to be where all these, QB releases are official.
Yep.
Kyler Murray has been cut by the Arizona Cardinals, and he's on a plane right now to Minnesota. The anticipation is he probably will sign with that team by tomorrow, but he's gonna at least take interviews with other teams. But then again, he's going to meet with them first, and if it's enticing enough, he'll just sign in right there on the dotted line. The Atlanta Falcons released Kirk Cousins, and they're going to sign Tua. That's the anticipation, or the expectation, I should say, but we're waiting for that to be official as well. Kirk Cousins, we've heard mixed things of, is he going to come back and play? Is he going to wait it out a little bit to see what's the best option available for him? And right away when he's released, Diana Rossini said, look out for the Raiders for Kirk Cousins to be a mentor to Fernando Mendoza. And when I saw that, I was like, I can't believe I didn't think about that, but that makes a ton of sense. And Kirk, I believe, played for Clint Kubiak back with the Minnesota Vikings. He was the QB coach. So he knows him. I want to confirm that a little bit here. I'll check that out, but I think that's the case. And the initial thing, or the expectation we all had was, well, Fernando Mendoza is going to play right away. But what if he doesn't play? What if you make it where he learns for a year? Because in this new day and age in the NFL, if you're drafted first overall, you got to play right away. But what if he's not ready? Like, there's a lot of flaws in his game that I saw. Again, he is the consensus #1 pick. But if you get it where Kirk Cousins comes in for a year and plays in this Kubiak offense, teaches Fernando Mendoza the ropes, yeah, I'd say you do that in a heartbeat. I didn't think about it until today, and I don't think there's a lot of options for Kirk Cousins out there. I would definitely sign Kirk Cousins to be the Raiders quarterback.
We know he can still play. I mean, it wasn't amazing in Atlanta, but he did go 5-3 down the stretch, I think, last season with the Falcons, which was good. And he does have familiarity with Clint Kubiak. I looked that up. You got your dates right, Derek. 2019 to 2020, when Kubiak was the quarterbacks coach over there in Minnesota,
and the OC, yeah.
Yeah, so that all squares up. I saw the same report. I think that's very fascinating. I think he works very well in that role, and you're not running into the issues that you are, for instance, that Minnesota is going to run into, right? If with what they're trying to do with their quarterback room and possibly suppressing the development of JJ McCarthy. So I don't think you run into that issue at all with Kirk Cousins coming to, I almost said Oakland, to Las Vegas. So I think it makes sense. I think and then you have a solid quarterback room. You at least have a guy who's been there, done that. And then you have your kind of emergency backup guy in Aiden O'Connell. And then you have your rookie who eventually is going to get out there and play this season, you would think. But, who knows? But I think Kirk Cousins can definitely still play ball. This is not Matt Schaub going to the Raiders all those years ago. This is a much better fit for a guy who can still play and with a team that's going to be more talented. The only other guy I could even think of to come in and fill that spot, and I just don't think it's feasible for multiple reasons, even though it'd be a fun story, would have been Derek Carr. but I don't think it's feasible for the fan base. I don't think it's feasible for him necessarily, because I think he really just wants to go to a contender kind of team. And I don't think the Raiders are ready to re-up with him in that kind of way. But I think Kirk Cousins would be a very, very good option. And, he knows how to run an offense. That's for darn sure. He's not going to have any issues with that. And he's not bringing baggage like a lot of these other older quarterbacks do sometimes. He's not going to bring the baggage that a Russell Wilson would, or an Aaron Rodgers would, or guys like that, or a Kyler Murray even. He's going to come in and be a stabilizing force, allow Mendoza to learn the game at the NFL level to prepare, and it'll make that quarterback room really good.
No, I agree with you, Alon. I think it would be a slam dunk move, and it would help Fernando Mendoza. I think that Kirk Cousins would be just a fantastic mentor to him. And let's be honest, it would be the whitest, corniest, cheesiest quarterback room in all of the NFL, but I'll take it because those guys are two peas in a pod where Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza is a younger Kirk Cousins. They could go to, they'll find a place where they could get Roy Rogers together and they could sing Celine Dion. But yeah, they're not going to be the most, manliest of men. But as long as they play good quarterback, who cares? So I'm all for it. And yeah, Kubiak, his history with Kirk Cousins, you don't have to rush that. Like, I don't think it'll be the same situation where Kirk right away had to win with the Atlanta Falcons. And then he was not playing well. He was injured down the stretch. And Michael Penix came in and he was starting, took over as the starter for the football team. And that's where Kirk Cousins was like, I want out of here now. With Kirk, at least he knows this is going to be the end. Now, are you playing on a contending team? Probably not. But how many opportunities are you going to have out there? So is it better for him to wait a little longer to see if there's a significant quarterback injury to a contending team and then he could take over for that? Or does it make sense for him to just sign with the Raiders, be that mentor to Fernando Mendoza, be the starter, and then when Fernando Mendoza is ready, he'll take over? And also the Raiders could just sign him, and then if there's a significant injury, they could just trade him away.
Yeah, no, they can do that if if a team gets desperate and you can flip him for, maybe like a 4th round pick or something like that, and then roll with the with the rookie. So I think it makes nothing but sense. It's very good upside for both parties involved. And I think this is one of the cases where the age of the player actually is a real benefit to the organization, because you don't have to make this kind of commitment that the Raiders say did to Geno Smith, just last year. Even though he's in his 30s, Kirk Cousins 37, he knows the road is not that much longer for him in the NFL, and the Raiders can be totally fine, and he can be totally fine taking a 1 to 2 year deal.
Well, earlier in the show, we were asking, is Max Crosby going to be bought in? Can they mend fences between him and the organization, and really Alex Guerrero and Tom Brady? Max Crosby took to social media over the weekend to post a 12-minute video saying, I'm a Raider for life. I feel disappointed that I let you guys down not winning a championship. And now he just took to Twitter to say, everything happens for a reason. Believe nothing you hear and half of what you see. I'm a Raider. I'm back. Run that shit.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. I have my LA Raider hats in my car right now, but man, I'm so fired up. And see, now I'm a homer. This is not good. That's not good radio. That's not good media. I'm sorry, guys, but
no.
that makes me so fired as a season ticket holder, as a sucker who bought a PSL. A sucker. I love my PSL, right? But as a person who did that, I'm so happy. This is great. Hey, the band's back together. Mark Davis must have went in and swung that hammer. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep. And Alon, you're entitled to be happy, man. Like, this is insane. It was an unprecedented thing that happened yesterday. He said his goodbyes. You could tell that it definitely affected him, and he didn't want to leave on these terms. He didn't want to go out there and demand a trade. He did it the proper way, the classy way, and sometimes things don't work out. And the Baltimore Ravens got spooked, and now it's the Raiders' gain. So you know what? I bet she is at that press conference tomorrow. So for the here and now, we bring this conversation up a lot, and maybe we'll get Steven on maybe this weekend to get his thoughts on it if he's available. But we can put this conversation to bed. Max Crosby is going to be a Raider for the 2026 season.
Yeah.
So,
another guy would be great to talk to about this would be Spadoni, because Spadoni doesn't smoke, right? But if he ever if he ever was going to, well, he always posts that that photo of Ben Affleck smoking, but it's the one that's doctored with the Raider logo on it. If there was ever a week for him to start smoking, it would have been this week with the trade and then the no trade and then now this tweet happening. I would love to know how he's feeling. I was in the studio with him back when the Antonio Brown thing happened, and we were losing our minds in there, Derek. And little did we know that, well, Antonio Brown's feet would be cryogenically burnt. So
yeah,
but this is a big moment. And hey, you know what, Derek? We got to put that episode from yesterday in the time capsule because a lot of the things we said yesterday have come to fruition regarding this whole situation.
Yeah, I nailed the Trey Hendrickson thing, and I got that from other people, like insiders suggesting that was going to happen. But yeah, Max Crosby's not going anywhere for this season. Going to be a Raider. We'll see what happens at the trade deadline. But yeah, he's going to be the Myles Garrett of this team going forward, and hopefully he has more success than Myles Garrett has. So yeah, that's good to know. And the Raiders will make it work. And they got a good, on paper, they have a good team on their hands as far as the improvement on defense. We'll see what they do on offense. And that's it for football talk tonight, guys. We talked about the World Baseball Classic. They're moving on. Team USA, they get to sneak in because of Team Italy. How about that? Our paisanos coming big time there. They kicked the USA's ass last night. They were up 8-0, and the USA tries to mount a comeback there with Pete Crow Armstrong getting 2 home runs, but they lose. They get bailed out today with Italy winning over Mexico 9-1, and so they move on. Our guy Ron Wotus, who's got a cappuccino machine in the dugout, moves on with Team Italy. So yeah, that's nice. Even though Mark DeRosa had a blunder where he didn't realize what the whole situation was with them moving on. But the other big story in sports, we talked about last night when it was happening, Bam Adebayo scored 83 points in a game. Now, let me get the stats for this game. Because when you see that, no one's watching Miami Heat basketball when they play the Washington Wizards. But yeah, when you hear that, you're like, well, that's incredible. He broke Kobe's record of 81 points. I'm trying to put the box score here. I have it. Where's this game? Hold on. Sorry about this, Alon.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I got it.
You did break Kobe's record, which is insane, and he did it in a very weird way. I'll set you up for that, Derek.
He did. So, not the best as far as field goal percentage. He was 20 of 43, so 47%. He was 7 of 22 from 3-point range. What was his free throws here? I'm going to pull that
36 of 43 from the charity stripe.
Yeah. So, do I like the way that he got it? No. Especially with the way that they manipulated in the end. Like, I guess he got the 81, and he was out of the game. And the Miami Heat broadcasters were acknowledging that, being like, that's a good tribute to Kobe. They're going to stop right there. And then they're like, oh, wait, no, he's coming back into the game. And then Eric Spoelstra told the Heat players to foul the Wizards so they can extend the game and give more opportunities for Bam to get his 83 points. And it was a sloppy way to get it. Like, it just, like, I'm not going to really remember this very well or acknowledge it as better than Kobe, because it's not. Kobe, yes, he went up against a bad Raptors team, but that was on a Sunday, a conference championship NFL Sunday, when the Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Denver Broncos, and that led SportsCenter because that was incredible. And we don't have any footage of Will Chamberlain's performance, but last night, all you got to know is look at how most of the NBA reacted to Bam Adebayo's performance. Like, you look at some of the clips of people in post-game press conferences being asked about this. Ime Udoka was asked, what do you think about this? And he was like, well, at first, my reaction is, how did he do that? Like, no shade as him as a player, but his style of play. And then you look at the box score and like, okay, that's how. Plus, he's playing the Wizards. Then, like, Victor Wembanyama is asked, is this a moment of inspiration for you as a young player? And he's like, you look at a lot of moments in the NBA as inspiration, and he just shrugs. Like, I think a lot of people view this as nice for him, but, like, are we going to acknowledge this as one of the best moments in NBA history? Is it celebrated like Kobe or Will Chamberlain? No, it's not.
No, it's not even close. And I pulled up the stat sheet, the stat line, the box score for Kobe in that game against the Raptors 20 years ago now. Just a little over 20 years ago, 20 years and a couple of months. But 81 points, of course, 28 of 46 from the field, 7 of 13 from three, only 18 of 20 from the free throw stripe. And real quick, Kobe scored 55 of his 81 points in the second half, leading a comeback from an 18-point deficit for that Laker team. He scored 27 in the third and 28 in the fourth. So completely different circumstances, completely different stakes, and not against the absolutely atrocious Washington Wizards, and not going to the free throw line for 43 attempts, which is ridiculous. If anything should be lauded here, besides just the fact he did get 83 points, it's amazing. Like, congratulations to Bam Adebayo. You know, you're always going to be in the record book because of that. And it still looks like Wilt's going to be safe. I don't think anybody's going to get there in my lifetime for sure. But the thing that should be lauded here is he was 36 for 43 on free throws. That's amazing. Like, that is so good. And yeah, I know free throws are sexy, and that's what everybody loves the NBA for. They really love watching free throw shooters. So this was just, if you're into free throws, this was the game for you. But I think that's the most remarkable part about this whole thing, besides just getting the record, is that he actually got to shoot 43 free throws. Kobe did not have that luxury in his game, and he was down for most of that game, whereas the Heat never trailed in this one.
Yeah. No, but yeah, the consensus today was good for Bam Adebayo, but nah, we don't love the way you did it. And honestly, it was kind of surprising Eric Spoelstra decided to do what he did last night. And yes, he wants to, get his player the record and everything, but it's kind of making a mockery of the game a little bit. So whatever, it's in the record books, but when it comes to memorable scoring performances in NBA history, I won't really remember Bam Adebayo. I just won't.
Yeah, this one's not going to be replayed like the 81-point Kobe game is, just because it's not fun to watch someone shoot 43 free throws.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
All right, Alon, that's it for tonight, man. I feel like, God, I am burnt out on podcasts for a while, so how about we come back Sunday if there's news of significance? Now we put the Max Crosby thing to bed. He's coming back. If you didn't hear me earlier in the show, Max Crosby just tweeted out moments ago that he's coming back for this shit. He's committed to the Raiders. He's all in for 2026 with Clint Kubiak as head coach and his guy, Rob Leonard, as defensive coordinator. I'm sure he'll be at the press conference tomorrow. So don't have to worry about that. No more speculation. Max Crosby is playing for the Raiders in 2026. Other things we're waiting on in the NFL, Kyler Murray, the Tua news to be official. Maybe Kirk Cousins signs with the Raiders eventually here. Juwan Jennings is still available. We still got some tight ends out there, David Njoku and Dallas Goedert. But besides that, things are kind of drying up right now when it comes to the frenzy, the fuckery. So everybody can tell rock a new era. We'll start talking about other sports. We got baseball in a couple of weeks. Me and Walter, we're going to do a whole Just Your Rounding Third and King Man where we preview the Giants season. We got basketball still. And real quick on that, the Warriors, man.
Yeah.
Losing back-to-back games to the Jazz and the Bulls, two tanking teams. Like, I don't even know if the Bulls are tanking, but they're just dog shit. The Jazz are definitely tanking. And now we get the news, and it's not great for Steph Curry once again. He's got the runner's knee. It's unpredictable. He's going to be out for another 10 days, so that's 5 more games. I don't know what to expect anymore with him. Like, yes, I want Steph to come back, and it sounds like he will early in April, right before they make a play-in run. But we don't even know if the Warriors are going to make the play-in at this point. Do they have the roster where Kristaps Porzingis and Draymond and Guy Santos and Pat Spencer, are they enough to get them to the play-in and hope that Steph Curry can just do Steph Curry things? Also, Steph Curry hasn't played with Kristaps Porzingis. I have no idea what this is going to look at. Now, thank God look like, I should say. Now, thank God for DeAnthony Melton and Al Horford and the way they're playing right now. Those pickups have been huge, but I I don't want Steph Curry to be shut down for the remainder of the season, but I also am wondering what's the point? Like, is this all about next year? There's a ton of pressure on Mike Dunleavy Jr. to do something this offseason where Steph is contending for a championship. But I've said this before ad nauseum. I don't think it's happening. I think that Steph Curry's career with the Warriors, if it does end with this final contract, it's not going to result in a championship.
Yeah, I mean, they would need significant roster help to make that happen. You mentioned the play-in. You mentioned Steph and Kristaps finally playing together. I would assume it'd be a lot of pick and roll because that's what, and a lot of three-point attempts, hopefully, for Porzingis. I don't even know what kind of player Porzingis is, though, these days either. So that's the other problem facing this team. But, yeah, I mean, they're getting to the point. Look, we were blessed with that championship now. It seems so long ago. What, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago against
I always
Boston?
say that was a Lifetime Achievement Award, Alon, at the end there.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It really
good
was.
Good team, but not their best team. And
no,
they were better than the Boston Celtics, but that was the end.
We were blessed by that because we got to have a really nice cap on it because if they didn't get that other one, we were always going to feel as Warriors fans, as Warriors supporters, we were always going to feel like, man, what could have been with the blown lead against the Cavs, but even more so, and that one hurts, but even more so with everybody being in a mash unit against the Raptors. What would that series have looked like if the Warriors actually had a team? I don't know. Maybe the Warriors were able to pull it out. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, it was nice to get that one against the Celtics. They're far away from competing. They can get to the play-in game. I mean, I think they're 9th right now in the West.
They are,
but the problem is what is 41-41 at the, because that's what they're on pace for. What does 41-41 look like at the end of the season and then getting into the play-in? Does that get ceiling. You? Yeah. What's the ceiling? That's what I'm saying. What is the ceiling for this team right now? Like, with no Butler, it's just, I don't know is the ceiling a first round bounce? That's probably what it is.
That is what it is. Like they're not beating any of these better teams in the Western Conference right now. So they're lucky enough to maybe get to the playoffs and play OKC, but they're not beating that team. They're not beating the Spurs, and they're not beating all those teams that are top 6 in the West right now. They're not beating them. They're that much better than the Warriors right now. And again, there's not an acclimation period for Steph Curry and Kristaps Porzingis to kind of gel together before the playoffs. So there's not a lot to hope for the remainder of the season. You just hope that they could swing a big trade, whether it's Giannis or Kawhi, but I don't have my hopes up for that. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now with the Warriors season. Anyway, Alon, I want to thank you, man, for joining me the last 2 nights. It's been a lot of frenzy, a lot of fuckery, and we'll be back on Sunday. And we'll see what happens here. There may be a Kyler Murray signing and some other news in the NFL, but you can tell Rock a New Era and AJ Cruz, everybody, that we're moving on to other sports. We're going to talk football still, and we're going to acknowledge the chat like we're doing right now. Mac Van says Raiders will win 6 to 7 games this year. You could book that at least. Good prediction, Mac Van. But we're going to talk other things now. We got the Oscars coming up on Sunday. We talk a little movies. Yeah, guys. Don't forget what this show's about. It's all just not football all the time, all right? Simmer down now, AJ Cruz and Rockin'. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody in the chat tonight. Thanks to Otis Bird. Thanks to Mac Van. Thanks to Alon popping in the chat while he's still doing the show. Appreciate that. Thanks to Tacky for spewing some Raider hatred as he usually does. And I believe, and I can't forget my guy or whoever this is, Tribe 69 Dudes. Derek Papa makes me creamy. Always says that. And I'm always going to read it. All right, Alon, I will see you on Sunday, my friend. Say what you always say. Hey, that's just your opinion, man. Well, do like your usual thing. Like you usually do like a... Yeah, I usually come up with something like, you know what? You might think that the Warriors ceiling is a first-round exit, Derek. But that's just your opinion, man. But wouldn't you agree with that at this point? Yeah, it's my opinion, too. Yeah, okay.